Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? It's cold out today and it's raining as well. And I'm ready for the Christmas break. How about you lot? How are you doing? Mark Whiting has just arrived. I have a button specifically dedicated to Mark. Let me press that. There we go. I've already done one for Jim Turner. I've already done one for Gary Muirhead as well. How is everyone doing? I think Gary Muirhead got himself a Christmas card from the mighty Marco Lorini this morning. Good old Marco. Gotta love Marco Lorini. Funnily enough, currently negotiating travel details for the Samota exhibition. There's an exhibition in April, but there's also a pre-exhibition get-together in March. We're doing both. I'm going to both of those over in Verona. And I'm seriously considering actually extending a bit of one of those trips, either the one in March or the one in April, to do a bit of a guided tour. I did a bit of a guided tour earlier this year, thoroughly enjoyed it. And it would be quite nice to go back, go and see Mantovani Benny and Lorini and VTN and anybody else that will, Trevi Benny, anybody else that will have us as well. I'll keep you posted on all of that. As always, loads to get through today. Bit of news to bring you about the government trying to put in place one overall regulatory body for the construction, and I think they're referring to it as the built environment industry. I don't know whether that takes in demolition. It only came across my desk a few minutes ago, so we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's have a look. You look like you're in a better mood today. Maybe you realise the holiday is close now. My mood rises and falls with the tide, Gary, as you well know. Now, I have to admit, I got up this morning and I was fairly sure today was Friday. I was a little disappointed to find out that it wasn't. While we're here, while we're having a bit of a pre-show natter, very quickly, Monday's show, assuming that we can actually get some people to turn up on Monday, I'm going to do a quiz. I'm going to come up, I've already come up with quite a few, but I'm going to come up with about 50 questions. And what we're going to do, it will be literally a fastest finger first. So I'm going to draw up a list of the 50 questions, have a list on my desk, and I'll ask the question, and whoever answers first is the winner of that particular one. And at the end of it, I'll count up who's got the most signatures, and they will be our Dig Fact Quiz of the Year champion for 2025. That's how we're going to do it. You might want to read up on some of your construction equipment knowledge, construction equipment history. You might want to consult what you know about each other, because there's a few of those in there as well. Be ready. Do you still have the electric lunchbox to give away, Gary? It is sat right behind me, and I do. I'm going to do that early in the new year. As somebody with a birthday in February, and that is not, I'm not dropping hints for presents, I promise you. November, bit chilly. December, bit chilly. January, cold. February, freezing. So my plan is to do it early in the new year, where whoever wins it will get the full benefit of it. That's the plan. I realise I'm lagging at least a year behind, but that kind of sums me up, to be perfectly honest. Morning, he says, Chris Ford. Morning, lions led by donkeys. It kind of sums up my entire life, that does. Really does. And sometimes I've been a lion, and quite a bit of the time I've been a donkey. Should we get on? I think we probably should, because I realise you people are all winding down for your Christmas breaks and what have you. So let me, without further ado, let me take that off the screen. Let me roll the intro and get this show on the road. It is Thursday, the 18th of December. This time next week, it'll be another day. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. In today's show, We've got some power plant demolition all the way from Tucson in Arizona. We've got an absolutely cracking film. It's called Redefining Rig Decommissioning, but it's offshore rig decommissioning at its finest, actually. So look forward to that one. It's quite a long one, about 7 minutes long, but well worth it. We've just mentioned the cold and the fact that we're not quite cold yet, but the next time you think it's cold on site, you might want to remember the film that we've got third in today's show. And JCB, When the Spinning Stops. I promise that will make sense when we get there. Plus, in my morning monologue today, manifesting a better year. That's what I'm going to attempt to do. I have very little faith in my ability to do that, but I'm going to do it nonetheless. What's this over in the chat? Gary Muirhead says, anyone have any New Year's resolutions for next year, 2026? I have one. And I may have mentioned it already. My New Year's resolution is to not mention the NFDC next year because it's kind of poor taste to speak ill of the dead. They will come up in today's morning monologue, actually. So I am saving that for 2026. But yeah, that's my one and only. Quite like to lose a bit more weight. Quite like to get my diabetes a little more under control. But I've met me, and I know what I'm like. So yeah, not hopeful with that. Anybody else got any New Year's resolutions? We'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, we have this. Yeah, this one is splurged all over the construction press this morning. I'm actually taking this from Construction Index, but I think Construction Inquirer have it as well. I think Building Magazine have it as well. And the story is thus. The government is apparently seeking to take control of building professions. It's drawing up plans for state control of the built environment professions. As part of wider plans for post-Grenfell regulation of the construction industry, the government has decided that the historic professional institutions can no longer be trusted to regulate their professions. Central oversight is required. The quote here says, while many of those in the sector are already working to high standards, the current system of regulation and oversight is too complex and fragmented to provide public confidence that is always the case. The government asserts this in its prospectus for the forthcoming single construction regulator. No single body has a full view of competence, capacity, regulation, and enforcement across the building professions, it says. While some areas are regulated in statute, most are self-regulated or not regulated at all. Where professional bodies provide oversight, they can vary in terms of legal status, governance, and public interest functions. There is no consistent definition or enforcement of competence or standards for public accountability. It goes on and on and on. I mean, I've just mentioned the NFTC. I mean, they're not. I would not go so far as to say that they are a regulator, but they are a kind of an arbiter within the demolition fraternity. I wonder what that means for them. Be interesting. One of my concerns with that, and I'd love to get your feedback on this. One of my concerns with that is that's the prospectus. It's going to take a while for that prospectus to become a reality, after which you will then need to go through the process of actually putting that regulator in place. So even if that is wholeheartedly greeted with enthusiasm in the House of Commons, House of Lords, whatever it might be, years away. I don't think it's time to panic quite yet. But it does make you wonder. Let's have a look. Gary says, my one is to lose weight. My wife, Christine, has lost over 4 stone this year. Very proud of her. Well done, Christine. Well done indeed. Funny enough, my wife has lost about 3, which is a fantastic achievement. I mean, she's probably listening, so I better say this. I don't care what size and shape she is. Love her anyway. But she's done a phenomenal job this year. So well done to Ruth. Well done to Christine. And anybody else that's shifted a bit of timber this year. The only problem with making a New Year's resolution is I've normally broken it by lunchtime. Chris, you and I we're cut from the same cloth. I tend to break New Year's resolutions by lunchtime, particularly if they happen to be food related. I promise I shall not. I swear on the Almighty, I shall not eat chocolate. Somebody say Mars bar. That's kind of how I roll. Ken Hatter is in the house, and man alive, does he have some weather today. Good morning to you, Ken. Let me press your button, which is that one. Good question. Where's Dan? I don't know. I mean, I think he's currently off hire, as it were. I would have expected maybe he'll pop along later. We shall see. Dan, if you're listening, we're missing you already. Let's crack on, shall we? Let's start with a bit of Caterpillar, and then we're going to Tucson in Arizona. Mick Norton is in the house, and I've just managed to press the wrong button. I pushed the button for our friend Millwall Mix, not Mick Norton, so I've done a different version of it there. Chris Ford says that video got my attention. Yeah, it's quite. I don't know what's going on with this system. It used to regulate the sound. Now it doesn't seem to. Incidentally, I do need to try this. In fact, I'm going to try it in just a second. Got a notification yesterday that the software program that I use to broadcast this show, called StreamYard, they are now doing what they refer to as AI clipping. So once this show is over, the system will go through and find any good bits. Good luck with that. And it will present them to me as a clip, vertical format clip that I can use on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever it might be. But apparently, one of the things that the system does is it can actually identify when I say a specific phrase. And the way that it works is, I'll tell you in a second what it is. When I say the agreed phrase, which they've set in place, it will clip from 30 seconds back from when I say the phrase. And that phrase is clip that. Never done it before. I've no idea if it works, but in actual fact, I'm now thinking about it. I can't remember if it's clip that or clip this. It's one of those. I'll be interested to see. It literally became a thing last night. I've never used it before, so at some point today, hopefully, it will say, there's that thing that you wanted. That will all make sense then at some point. We shall see. Anyway, I promised to take you to Tucson, and Tucson we are headed for right now. Sit back and enjoy. you know you're well equipped when you can just dedicate a Caterpillar machine purely to holding a dust suppression unit in place. Unbelievable. Chris Ford says, nice and steady, very controlled. Yeah, absolutely. That looks like the Cat machine that Jumbo was based on. I think Jumbo was that 6015, something like that. Couldn't actually tell what machine that was. It's a big lump, though, no question about it. You think they could have just blown it up? Nothing in the way? Yeah. I mean, I guess the only other problem with that is most of that was steel, as you could quite clearly see. I think you blow a steel structure, you've still got to go through and chop it up and process it and everything else. Maybe that was the easy way. Gary Muirhead with a fantastic question, and I have kind of a non-answer on this. He says, "What's on your Christmas card? What's on your Christmas list this year? Anything for the show? Maybe another monitor." I find it hard enough dealing with 2 monitors, if I'm being completely honest. So, no, I don't need another monitor. I am so happy with the microphone. The light is fantastic. Camera's working, an absolute treat. Computer is performing very, very well. No problem with any of that. There's a system I've got my eye on. A lot of the gear that you can't see. I mean, you can let me take them out of the way. You can see this. This is a microphone from a company called Elgato, and it's actually on a. You can't see it, but there's an arm. There's a boom arm here that raises it up to be level with me. That's from Elgato as well. The light also is from Elgato. My Stream Deck is from them as well. Quite recently, they introduced a bunch of new gear, which is kind of this, but mobile. In other words, I could have literally just a bag, or better still, a case. So if I were traveling, I could actually take, a dedicated light microphone, a real high def webcam, a smaller version of my Stream Deck, so I could actually take this show on the road. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it, but I quite like it. Um, I'm planning to do a bit of planning / soul searching over the Christmas period. We are fast approaching the 6th anniversary of this show, believe it or not. And I do think, we do need to keep developing and developing. And one of the other things that I'm very, very mindful of, I mentioned yesterday, the fact that I'm very poor at keeping in touch with people, which is a real failing in my personality. But I've got too comfortable just sitting here. I do need to get back out on site and up to manufacturers and do a bit more travel, not just overseas travel, although I quite enjoy that. The thought of spending a couple of days in Verona, looking forward to that enormously. But I do want to get back out amid the action as well. In addition to that, one of the other things that I really want to step up, and I'm not going to be overly ambitious. I'd like to do a monthly interview, and I want to do a real mixed bag. I want it to be operators, managing directors, manufacturers, regulators. Really sort of vary it up. Possibly not do it live. I'm quite pleased. We haven't got it approved yet, but I did an interview with a couple of the guys up at Southern City College last month. I'm just waiting for them to say that. I'm basically waiting for them to say that I've got their job titles right. Nothing more than that. And once that's done, I will be broadcasting that. And I do think that's it's something that I think we, as me and Fred, do particularly well. I mean, I think I know what questions to ask. He makes things look quite pretty, and between the two of us, we can do a good job on that. So watch this space. But in answer to your question, Gary, I know I've rambled on a bit. In answer to your question, no, there's nothing I want, nothing I need. My family is actually having for the 2nd year on the trot, we're doing a Secret Santa. So me, wife, and 4 children, plus a couple of hangers-on, boyfriends and girlfriends and what have you. We're doing a Secret Santa, and mine was as simple as, so long as it's got a Zara or a Carhartt badge on it, I don't mind. That I do like my clothing, and Carhartt and Zara is where I'm at the moment. So no, in answer to your question, nothing I need, want, or desire. Although, if anybody can put in a good word with Keira Knightley, I'll make an exception. We're going to be back in just a moment with almost 8 minutes of rig decommissioning, and it's really quite good. Back after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Dan, you've arrived just in time. We were just about to send out the search party for you. We're getting a little concerned because you are our resident early bird, but you're here anyway. Good morning, Dan. Hope you're fit and well, my friend. How are we all doing? I can only speak for myself, but I'm doing absolutely dandy this morning. Right, okay. So sit back. Nearly 8 minutes of decommissioning. It looks great. It sounds great. It's an astonishing feat of engineering. I think you'll enjoy it.
Every project we start, the starting point is safety.
Safety is in every activity that we do. It is an overriding principle that we can and will only do the work once it's safe. So in all our planning, in all our preparations for going offshore, we take safety with us as one of the elements that we need to take care of. The Vessel-free project is a removal project of a platform which is standing in 175 meters of water depth. That's quite a big jacket, and in that jacket there are 24 conductors.
The conductor length we have to remove is approximately 200 meters. So if you combine that, you have almost 4.8 kilometers of conductors which we have to remove in pieces which can be handled by the crane.
It went more complex by virtue of a vessel swap.
So instead of the tee-off, we had the boulder. It has less lift height. We could remove less length of a conductor section. That was 50 meters. It's 96 sections which we had to remove.
Okay, that's a lot of conductor pieces. A lot of conductor pieces also means a lot of downending. Your cranes are occupied.
The traditional manner is a lot of manual handling. So we took that into account and we tried to minimize the manual handling.
So that was one of the reasons that we had to think of an alternative solution. When you were looking at this specific scope, it is a lot of repetition. So 96 times an element that needs to be transferred from a vertical position on the platform to a horizontal position on the vessel deck.
Conductors are known or famous that they are damaged or when you downend it, it can buckle, it can break.
And if we would have had to do that over the deck of the boulder, we would have needed to cordon off quite a large deck area to ensure that nobody can be in harm's way. It can slow you down because you need additional barriers.
If you have to replicate them almost 100 times, it takes a lot of time.
Our vessel days are one of the most expensive parts of the work that we do. So to make the combination between efficiency and safety, we needed to innovate. That eventually led to fabricating a new piece of equipment, being our conductor downend frame.
The conductor downend frame consists of the main frame, the support frame and the crates that will hold the conductors in place.
You take a conductor, cut it in 4 sections, put those sections into the crates in the conductor downend frame, and then we can lower that downend frame, take the crates with the conductor parts out of the frame, put new crates in and do that 8 times.
The role of HFG in this project is to fabricate, amongst other things, the conductor downend frame. Today we will lift the main frame and the support frame on the barge, and we will also lift 4 cradles onto the barge.
To start the cycle, we transfer the conductor removal frame to the platform.
And there we have the tools to make the separation. So that is the hydraulic shear, and there's also a hydraulic pin. When we go through the removal process step by step, the first step is clearly to make that bottom cut.
Then we will cut internally the conductor 2 meters below seabed.
That's 2,000 or 3,000 bar water with an abrasive, and that cuts a circular ring below the surface of the sea.
After it has been cut, we perform a test pull to confirm that the cut below seabed has been done.
We pull it up by 50 meters, we clamp it, and there's also a hydraulic pin which is being simply pushed through the conductor like a dart through a straw. And so there's an inner tube that is immediately secured by that pin, and that pin is also used for lifting it out with the vessel crane. We then can make the first separation, so that's the hydraulic shear that's going to do that on the conductor removal frame.
When it has been sheared, it will lift and it will transfer slowly the conductor section into the conductor down end frame.
We put it gently into the conductor down end frame, where it can rest until the conductor down end frame is full with 12 sections. And so for each conductor that we take out, we have 4 of those steps to remove it in 4 parts of approximately 50 meters each.
That process will be repeated till we are to the 4th section, which is the last section.
After which the complete conductor down end frame is being lowered onto the deck to redo it for 8 times.
By incorporating safety into the design, you coincidentally also have the most efficient way of approaching safety. If you take out the hazard, you don't need to think about the hazard anymore.
I would say that designing for safety is intrinsic for the work that we do. We will always design with safety, not in the back of our minds, but on the forefront of our minds.
If you tackle this from an early stage, you can really have this beautiful symbiosis of efficiency and safety together.
For me, it proves that we can virtually do anything that we can think of.
And I think that's true. I think with good teamwork, we can achieve everything we want.
When you look at the structures that are being built, but the engineering that goes into it, the various disciplines that are needed for coming to a design like this, all of that we have in-house. That combined with the fabrication yard in Flushing, but also in Poland, have resulted in an immense piece of equipment that we will be using probably for quite some years hereafter.
One of the things that struck me about that, excuse me, obviously they've developed a very specific set of equipment, set of logistics and everything else. Must have cost a fortune for one thing, but also what guarantee have you got? I mean, the guy said at the end here, we've got this fantastic piece of equipment which we hope to use for many, many years. I would assume that those sort of projects still go out to tender. So, you might have spent tens of millions equipping yourself to do that rig. There's no guarantee there's another rig coming down the line. I mean, I know there's a lot of them, and clearly they are a very, very professional outfit. But yeah, interesting stuff. Ken Hatcher saying massive money as well. Yeah. Almost money, no object. I know early doors. I remember reading about they'd actually designed and built a ship basically to help tow rigs back to land, and I think it cost was it $1 million or was it 10 million? It was something absolutely astronomical, and it was like, yeah, we're going to need it. Let's do it. When you think about the penny pinching that goes on land, won't be many companies doing that work. No, I mean I know of a few. I know Obviously, bits of Scotland. I think Norway are quite big on the rig decommissioning. People like AF Decom up in Norway are doing quite a bit. But yeah, I would imagine you've got to have some serious wedge about your person before you throw yourself into that sort of business. Dan Cullen says, wonder how long it takes to get the platform from land. Some engineering to keep that weight afloat too. Yeah, I've been out on a rig only for a day, and it is an astonishing thing. I mean, it wasn't a particularly big rig. It was only for the test drilling of the Channel Tunnel, so it wasn't particularly big. There was probably 30, 40 guys working on it. But it was literally, everything you wanted. There was a couple of restaurants, there was a shop, there was a gym on board, and various. It was almost like an apartment block, but at sea. Fantastic stuff. Mick Norton says, this was the story we started with. Transferring the current building safety regulations from the HSE to a new regulated body can only be an improvement. The HSE is barely treading water, many asking whether they're fit for purpose. Is that the plan? I mean, I've been looking at this, not specifically at the HSE, because they were talking about regulatory bodies, which I realise they are one, but the HSE covers all of the various aspects of the industry. I was thinking more individual bodies within individual sectors of the industry. I'd be interested. I mean, Mick, you've got your finger on the pulse of this way more than I have. As I say, that only came across my desk about 10 minutes before I actually started the show, so I've not really had a chance to look at it. But is that the plan? Is the plan basically to put in a new body and to basically allow the health and safety executive to wither and die? Be interested to hear. As I say, I will be doing a bit more reading when I get off the show today. Brace yourselves. Things are about to get chilly after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
I knew that was coming. Many years ago, I used to do quite a bit of work with Finnish companies, including Rama and Metso as well, actually. And it was always a bit of a joke. We used to phone and speak to the people up at Rama. I want to sneeze again. Oh, dear. I may not be finished. Speaking to the people at Rama, and they'd say to you, how's the weather where you are? Oh, it's cold. It's cold. It's 0 degrees, and we had 1 millimetre of snow. How's the weather with you? And they'd say it's -15, and we've had 1 foot of snow. Completely different. We get it cold here, but we don't get it as cold as this.
The most rewarding job in the world can also be the most challenging. One wrong move can cause damage, delays, or worse. And it can happen even to the best of us. Smart Zone keeps you one step ahead by tracking the risk zones you set, putting control in your hands. Customized risk zones match your terrain and needs. Your machine, your rules. Smart Zone works in the background with your vehicle, so you can focus on what you do best.
Too cold for me, but perfect for our man Dan, who says that's my kind of cold. Love it. I'm sure it's a lovely place to work. And I do like the snow, particularly fresh snow. You find yourself up in, I remember particularly, I went to Garmisch-Partenkirchen on the outskirts of Munich many, many moons ago. And we'd had a real deluge of snow the night before. Went up the mountain, it was completely pristine and white. it's a lovely thing to look at. Dan saying that's some kit there. He also says, bless you for my sneezing. Thank you. I'm not sure I'm done, but I'm hoping so. We're talking about the health and safety executive being replaced, superseded. Dan says it should do. They're not fit for purpose, not doing what they should be doing. I wouldn't argue with that. Part of the issue, though, and I don't often speak in defense of the health and safety executive, but part of the issue with the health and safety executive is they've been starved of funding. They've had to become entirely self-sufficient with the FIFA intervention and everything else. Underpaid, understaffed, undervalued. Is a new regulator going to get a big wodge of cash that will bring in enough people to do the job properly that the health and safety executive is currently unable to do? If that's the case, good, but also a little unfair. If the health and safety executive could be improved by throwing some more money at it, maybe throw some more money at it. Just saying. We've got one more film for you today, which I will bring you immediately after her.
It's good to read. Head over to the Demolition News bookstore. Maybe I'll see you there.
She won't. Typical tease of a woman. Mick Norton says, the way I read the consultation process is that just the building safety regs, BSR, which is, 2022, would be offloaded to a new body. So does that mean the health and safety executive stays and does general stuff? Anything BSR related is another body? What's the crossover? What's the Venn diagram look like? Where do they cross over? Do they cross over? One thing I would say about that, and I as I say, I've not read it thoroughly, but when they were talking about building safety regs, that does actually take into account the demolition sector. Building safety regs and Building Safety Act all mention demolition, so it could queer things over there. One final thing. Now, if anybody's ever driven a backhoe loader, you will have felt the pain that I've experienced. You've got that little spinny seat thing. So you operate the backhoe doing your thing and okay, I've got to load that lot out. So you spin your seat round and what do? You always whack your knee on something. Maybe I just have big knees, but I've always whacked my knees. JCB have outlawed that. You could save 1,200 seat turns in 1 week, which means in my case, you could save 1,200 knee impacts in 1 week. I'm all for it. I've driven one of those and it's very, very good. Very, very good. If anybody, I'm fairly sure a couple of you have, isn't it? I think Ken Hatcher may have had a pop on one of those. I'm fairly sure Chris Ford took one for a spin as well. Gentlemen, let me know what you think. I think it's long overdue, frankly. Anyway, people, that's about it for the main part of today's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like into my morning monologue today. If you can't stick around for that, do please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, and your friends and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very, very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I shall return wishfully thinking after this. I am a rational man. I don't believe that crystals have healing properties, that fairies live at the end of my garden, or that there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And I sure as hell don't believe that we can somehow turn our innermost thoughts, desires, and intentions into reality merely by visualizing them. But, Desperate times call for desperate measures. So rather than drawing up a list to send to Santa or compiling a set of New Year's resolutions that I know I will never abide by, I thought that by way of a change, I would try to manifest a better year for the demolition and construction industry and for anybody that's watching this. And I'm going to start with the big one. I'm calling on the universe to ensure that no one is killed on a demolition or construction site before March. If I were making this wish to a genie, I would wish that there would never be another fatal site accident anywhere in the world. But as I said at the outset, I am a realist. I also know from history that the combined UK demolition and construction industry claims the lives of roughly 30 people each year. That's just over 2 a month. If we could just hold out until March, we might actually see the yearly fatality number dip below 20. It's still terrible, but it's also better than at any time in my life. While we're on the subject of death, I'd also call upon the universe to help fix the mental health crisis within this sector. If we could manifest some changes to working practices, maybe we could reduce the number of industry deaths by suicide. I'm also looking to the heavens in the probably vain hope of stemming the tide of demolition and construction company failures. Over the course of the past 2 years, we've seen the closure and the collapse of more than 8,000 individual firms. Each one of those firms was someone's dream. Each of them was someone's source of income, the means by which they kept a roof over their head and food on the table. Perhaps if we all think about it hard enough, a few less companies might slip beneath the waves in 2026. Let's stick with that need for greater job security for a moment. There are apparently government plans afoot that will begin to crack down on zero-hour contracts and the so-called gig economy. I know I'd be wasting my time calling upon the government for anything. They're pretty much useless. So instead, I'm calling upon the universe once again to make this Labour Party soundbite a reality. I hope it will begin to eradicate the employment agencies that leech upon the demolition and construction industry. And I hope that in turn, we'll see more men and women enjoying true workers' rights and employment benefits. And while you're fixing the employment end of things, Mrs. Universe, I'm assuming she's a woman, can I crave your indulgence just a little bit more? Can you find the time to rid the industry of all the racists, the homophobes and the misogynists, and anyone else who makes their fellow workers feel uncomfortable or unwelcome? It's bad enough that we have to go to work in the first place without some knuckle-drigging a-hole making life even more unbearable. Could you also, in your infinite power, point out to young people that we really don't need any more YouTubers or TikTokers, but that we will always need demolition and construction workers? And while you're about it, you might like to remind those young people that up until quite recently, we had a name for people that spent all their time on a computer. We called them geeks, and they rarely got laid. I know I'm taking up quite a lot of the universe's time, so I'm going to go for a quick fire round. Can you make women feel a little more welcome? Ensure that people get paid on time. Ensure workers get to spend some quality time with their families while they're employed. Maybe while you're about it, eradicate drugs and alcohol from all sites. Make exposure to asbestos a thing of the past. Put an end to fly tipping. Oh, and would you please, for the love of God and all that is holy, make the NFDC do something. Anything. Just to prove that they're still alive. Seriously, could someone check for a pulse? Over and above all that, I am calling upon the universe to be especially kind to those gathered here. I hope that Gary Muirhead is appointed Minister of Construction. I hope that Jim Turner gets the call to consult the JCB on their next generation of backhoe loaders. I hope that Ken Hatcher sees more sun than rain in 2026, and that all his sprockets are suitably aligned. I hope that Dan Cullen gets a permanent job where he isn't surrounded by Egypts and where there's an endless supply of free hats. I realise that's a lot to ask for, and having never manifested before, I'm pretty sure my chances of getting all those wishes fulfilled are practically zero. And so, universe, if you're listening, I'd like to make you an offer. I'll forego all of those hopes, aspirations, dreams and desires mentioned previously, in exchange for just one. Give the families of the 4 men killed at Didcot in 2016 some justice and some closure. I really don't think that's too much to ask. Let's see how the universe deals with that little lot. I've got to be honest with you, people, I'm not hopeful. As I say, I've never manifested before. There might be something in it. Who the hell knows? I wouldn't hold your breath, though. Jim says, I don't really do New Year's resolutions. I live my life by doing just as I like, but I suppose I really ought to lose some timber. But you're a big fella. You're a big fella. I always find it slightly disconcerting when you see some people losing weight. I think Peter Kay is an absolute star. I could watch Peter Kay for hours and hours on end. But Peter Kay should be quite fat. He's clearly, I don't know whether he's been on the Ozempic or the Mounjaro, whatever it might be. I don't know whether he's had a stomach bypass, but he's coming back and he's lost a lot of weight, and he looks a bit wrong. I mean, I'm sure health-wise he's in a far better place now, but he doesn't look right. And Jim, I don't think you'd be. I'd hate to see Jim as a skinny bloke. It just wouldn't look right at all. Dan says, "Thank you, Mark. Me too. Hope to get loads of work coming in for the year. Me too. Me too. Hey, listen, if they do away with this whole 0-hour contract and gig economy terms of employment, maybe somebody will come along, snap you up, put you in a permanent position, Dan, and everyone will be happy, including you." Black Rice Mike, I hope you're right on all those wishes. Yes, I hope I am. I'm not hopeful. I'm not hopeful. I mean, I'm not a believer in the Almighty, so I don't think he's going to step in and help at any point. And the universe, is the universe listening to this guy? Probably not. But hey, you never know. You never know. And yes, Peter Kay does look a bit drawn now. At least, I mean, as far as I can tell, at least he hasn't gone down the plastic surgery route. When you see, as my dad used to say, the 2 and 8, the 2 and 8 of some people, and particularly celebrities. I mean, Simon Cowell was never my idea of an oil painting in the first place, but he looks like he's contracted Down syndrome now because he's had so much work done. Don't get it. Don't get it at all. Age gracefully, for the love of God. Mick Norton, by way of praise, says Leeds-based demolition contractor HPS doing a very tidy job in Wakefield city centre. HPS, if you're listening, you have the approval of a Wakefield resident. It's good to hear. Always good to hear when a demolition contractor is doing well. Incidentally, it won't be ready this year, but I am going to tell you very quickly. I'm working on a thing at the moment called, what did I call it? The Persistence of Peril. You were here last week. You will know there was another fatality on a power station demolition project over in the States. I think it was Thursday last week, maybe Tuesday, can't actually remember, but it was last week. And it's reminded me, not that I need reminding, obviously we are now about 2 months shy of the 10th anniversary of Didcot. And one of the things that I said immediately after Didcot is that the industry would be ultimately defined by pre-Didcot, where I wouldn't say it was a wild west for safety, but things were what they were, and that there would be a post-Didcot tightening of regulations, tightening of safety. There hasn't been. And I've been back and I've looked at the issue. There was a guy killed, as I say, last week. There was, I think it was 3 guys killed in Korea a little bit before that. There was a couple of guys killed in Ohio. Obviously, we had Didcot, we had Longannet as well. Power station demolition remains problematic. And despite Didcot, and despite the international interest in it, nothing has changed. So I am working on, I don't know if it'll be an article or a publication. It'll be something. I'm pulling together that I probably won't get much done on it over the Christmas period, but that will be coming in the new year. Chris Ford says, please no, I'm not fat, just big boned. Pass me that Mars bar, please. Big boned. I remember people saying that when I was I was never a fat kid. I was always a skinny kid, actually. But big boned, yeah, that was a big expression for a while. And I wonder what they expected. Check the skeleton of a fat person. What? His leg bone is that round. Leg bone. You can tell I'm a doctor. Yeah, big boned. Apparently, that's a thing. I think Peter Kay has had eyelid work done. Yeah, they all do that, don't they? I don't get it. I really don't. I was watching an interview with George Clooney the other day, I think he's 64 now. Now, admittedly, George Clooney did start out as a pretty good-looking fella, but as far as I can tell, he's just decided, yeah, that's, I have got a few bags, I've got a few wrinkles. It's all right. It's okay. Doesn't matter. And do they think that, bearing in mind they are in the public gaze, do they really think, we'll see, let's take George Clooney as an example. We see him this week, he's got a few wrinkles, and obviously he's got the grey hair, but got a few wrinkles, got a few eye bags, and all the things that go with aging. And then he brings a film out in 6 months' time, and all of a sudden he looks 35. Do they think we're not going to notice that? Because I can assure you, we are. We are definitely going to notice that. And also, even if he could make himself look a passable 35, we all know the fact that George Clooney isn't 35, but if he then makes a movie where he's, the love interest of a 35-year-old woman, is that not a bit? Yeah. I'm not sure what that word is, but is that not just a bit creepy? If you eat and drink in moderation, you'll go to hell. Anonymous. Frankly, I think that's probably where I'm headed anyway. But yes, the drinking may. So tempted to go and give it another try. Jim says, I've always looked old, so I'm used to it. Yeah, listen, I started to go grey in my early 30s. I had like a patch at the front of me hair, and that went, and it then started down the sides, and then it started to recede a bit. Is what it is. Is what it is. I'm not losing any sleep over it. Look at those young women, their lips like a balloon. Yeah. What is that about? What is that about? And how? I know there was. You could go to some of these like Hollywood plastic surgeons and say, I need what they call it, a rhinoplasty, a nose job. I need a rhinoplasty. I'd like my nose to be like Jennifer Lopez's nose. I can't actually think what her nose looks like. I'm usually too concentrated on her rear end, but I'd like a nose like Jennifer Lopez, and the surgeon gets out a hammer and chisel, maybe, and does the job, and you end up with a nose like Jennifer Lopez. When you go in for these ridiculous lips and stuff, do you go in and say, I'd like to look like a deep sea grouper, or Mick Jagger, but without the wrinkles? Is that what they're doing? Is that what they're doing? Don't sit there and pumping their ass look like Kim Kardashian. I've seen ones you could sit your laptop on and use it as a desk. Wow. I've never seen one quite like that. But yeah, what's that about? When did that become a thing? Did anyone remember there was a case maybe 2 or 3 years ago of a woman who wanted what I think is referred to as a butt lift. And she went to a doctor to get the butt lift done, who insisted, this should have been the first red flag, insisted on doing the surgery not in a theatre, not in an operating theatre, but in her hotel room. And what he put in her buttocks, sorry, it's a word that amuses me. What he put in her buttocks wasn't medical grade silicone. It was concrete. Yeah. Somebody actually pumped concrete into somebody else's rear end, and she died, I think. I'm fairly sure I remember that, right? I'm going to perform surgery. It's okay, we'll do it at your hotel room. Okay, that doesn't sound right, but okay, you seem to know best. Why is there a cement truck parked outside? Yeah. As if you were unaware of the situation, the world has gone completely fucking mad. Just in case you weren't paying attention. Yeah. Mick Norton says, I have a face like a peach. A football peach. I've never heard that before, but that's very good. Like that. He has a wife, you know. Who has a wife, you know? He was filling all the voids, yeah, with concrete. Yeah, absolutely. Are you talking about George Clooney? Because George Clooney does have a wife who is a British Indian, if I remember rightly. Fairly sure that's the case. I can't say I'm an expert on all things to do with celebrities. Yes, apparently we are talking about George Clooney. He does have a wife, and she's a British Asian. And apparently way, 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 way cleverer than he is. I mean, I actually quite like George Clooney. I think he's quite a funny guy. But apparently she is like supremely intelligent, you know, advises presidents and prime ministers and that kind of thing. She's that smart. And she's a lawyer. Yes, she is. Fairly, she was an advisor to Barack Obama at one point as well. No, Monty Python and buttocks. The only thing I can remember about Monty Python and buttocks is they did a sketch with somebody had done, I think it was Hungarian to English translations, and rather than being true translations, they were, you know, random expressions. And I think one of them was whatever the Hungarian was translated to "May I fondle your buttocks." Yeah. Apparently, it was from the Life of Brian. Do you know, I loved The Life of Brian. Watched it when it first came out, watched it again a few years later, not seen it since. I do need to go back and revisit that. He's been a very naughty boy and so on. Yeah. Need to check that out. Maybe that's something I'll do over Christmas, because what better way to celebrate a Christian holiday with The Life of Brian? Yeah. Anyway, people, that will do us for the day. Back tomorrow for more of this. Monday, we have the Dig Fact Quiz of the Year, and then no more. That's 2025 done, wrapped up, put a bow on it, and we can all go our separate ways. Dan says, another fantastic show, Mark. Going to miss our 10 a.m. get together for a few weeks. Going to be lost. Where is Mr. Muirhead? He was here earlier. He was definitely here earlier. But I think he's probably gone back to work. Dan saying, any giveaways? Not this time around. Well, actually, I do. Funnily enough, it makes it sound like I work in the TARDIS. I've got boxes and storage cupboards and stuff. You may remember a couple of weeks back I said I'd discovered a box that had some stuff in it, including some spare hats, like that one. You see that Komatsu one, the green there? Found another one yesterday. Yeah, found another one. Dan, have you got one of those? The green trimmed ones? If not, that we may put that up for grabs. But no great intentions to do that. Peter McKenna has just arrived saying, morning, late again over on Instagram. Peter, you've arrived just to see me walking out the door. But good morning. Hope you're fit and well. Keep up all your good work for the HGV community. And Dan says he's not got that one in green. I tell you what, rather than doing a giveaway, Dan, I'll dig that out and I'll stick it in the post for you. How about that? Pretty sure I've got your address here. I'll check and I'll come back to you if needs be. If not, I'll speak to you tomorrow. But I'll get that one in the post for you with my very best regards. Gets it off my desk, basically. Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. Look after yourselves. Don't work too hard because it is almost Christmas. I'll be back tomorrow for more of the same. Till then, have a good one.